Welcome back here to another film breakdown. I'm Nick Faribaugh here with Derek Bell. We are back here for Bengals week after a week off here. Derek, Steelers barely come out on top over the Cowboys, and we have a few plays to break down, and we will break down a few plays from the Bengals side of things as well. But first play here, the CeeDee Lamb touchdown. Derek, give me a little bit of a rundown, man. What do you see?
So Dallas does a really good job by motioning into this trips bunch. You see Vince Williams checking out of the coverage. It looks like they checked the quarters. Um, Looks like there's just some miscommunication up top. The way that I think this should be played is once they motion across, Nelson's going to pick up Gallup man to man like he's locked on number one on that side of the field. Minka needs to work back and take the first crosser to the bunch side, but Edmonds follows that kind of over route, which forces Hayden into a situation where he's got two guys in his zone. Of course, TJ Watt, that's not a play that he's going to be able to make right there, asking him to carry a wheel right up the seam. I know a lot of other people have already pointed this out too, but the Steelers are in, for whatever reason, are in their base personnel, their 3-4 defense, instead of nickel, which is also kind of unexplainable, really.
Yeah, the thing about the Steelers is these plays, they want to create like five-man fronts to where their D line get one-on-one opportunities. But because you want to create those five-man fronts, and you're not going to blitz on every five-man front, but you want to give the illusion of a five-man front, so you pretty much, even if you don't bring Watt, you have that man-to-man mentality. And I mean, it works here that you get a bit of a pass rush, but Gilbert he aids it. But the thing is, like when you do that, because you're not, if you want to create a five-man front, you're not going to take T.J. Watt off the field for Cam Sutton, right? It's just not going to happen. So naturally, you can exploit that by spreading them out in 11 personnel um, against a guy like a CeeDee Lamb. So that's something you can do. If Dallas came out in 12 personnel all game, they would have gotten murdered by the Steelers. Like this was, I don't know what the Steelers saw on tape that they thought, because the Steelers pretty much planned for a 12 personnel team is what it felt like. And this is one of those examples. That's why you had TJ Watt on CeeDee Lamb, because they want to create those five-man services. And basically, by doing that, by extension, you get this against 11 personnel. At some point, it had to occur to the Steelers, because they faced 11 personnel, 10 personnel almost all game. It has to occur to you, okay, let's switch our game plan and let's start going into our sub packages. Because you can easily take Vince or Spillane off the field for Sutton here, and you're not going to hurt for it. So it doesn't make sense to me. And, I don't know how much who I would blame on this. You could blame Keith Butler. You could blame Edmonds. Edmonds definitely, once he sees Schultz start to cut in, Edmonds definitely should work back towards Cooper. Like, Gilbert could have had Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb on this play. Both of them are open. But also, this is kind of Edmonds' thing where he's just like, he's just seeing what's in front of him. He's really not adjusting on the fly still. He's a solid player, but not a guy that's there, not the guy that's at the next level yet. Maybe that'll come next year, but TJ Watt plays this probably about as well as he can given the circumstances. Same with Joe Hayden. I mean, I don't know what else you want Joe Hayden to do. He plays midpoint technique on these guys, and he at some point he's got to declare that I got to take away Amari Cooper, otherwise that's a touchdown. And unfortunately, just leave CeeDee Lamb really open. But that's kind of the plan, to flood the zones here, to flood Hayden's zone. It's just a really good play call too. So is there blame to go around on the Steelers? Absolutely, but also, sometimes you just got to tip the cap to the opposing team. Kelton Moore called a fantastic play there. All right, so second play here, this one, a pretty big mixed opportunity for the Pittsburgh offense. And this is a play that is bothering me. Because Steelers could have a touchdown here, because you see Deontay Johnson will beat his man deep. But really, it's the protection up front. Big Ben has has options here. Luckily, they get bailed out by an illegal contact. But I don't know what Chick-fil-A is doing here. He's been arguably the best offensive lineman for the Steelers this year. They pass off the stunt really well, and he must have thought the ball came out or something. He just quits blocking him, like straight up quits blocking Tyrone Crawford, and Crawford comes around to get a forced fumble. I mean, if he keeps him blocked, this is a touchdown to Deontay Johnson. That's a sweet route. Good job on the left side of the line to hold up against that, but the offensive line had a really bad game. And this stuff, this isn't getting beat. This is just mental stuff, man. Like that's a mental mistake. And I mean, come on, like you gotta, in terms of just in terms of coaching. Like I know I was taught always just do everything to the whistle, right? Like it doesn't matter if you don't hear that whistle, keep walking. Like just keep going. Like Jukes needs to follow that. It was probably his worst game of the year. They're lucky that illegal contact was called on Claypool. Because if they weren't, I mean, they have a huge turnover here, and that switches the games. And they probably lose at that point. I don't know the validity of that call. That's definitely more than 5 yards down the field. So probably a good call on that. But man, I mean, what do you see here? Deontay's route's just really nice when he works into the cornerback's blind spot. And he just cuts upfield. I mean, he would have had a massive amount of separation. One of the best route runners still in the game. I mean, he's the best route runner on the team for sure.
Definitely. Like you said, does a really good job working in this corner's blind spot here. I mean, it's hard to create that much separation on any route, but I mean, he works him over. The safety's cheating over towards McLeod's side, mainly because that's where Ben's eyes are, too. Ben wants to work right to left. Once Claypool falls down, play kind of falls apart. Like you said, the O-line does a really good job picking up this stunt. I'm just really not sure of the offensive line issues are kind of like the deep passing game issues, where it's one thing after another. It's not one thing that's wrong with this like deep passing game for the Steelers. Part of it's scheme. Part of it's just execution. Ben's touch has been a little bit off. He's missing long on a lot of his deep balls, whether that's by plan or not. Not trying to risk any interceptions, but the offensive line is just not blocking very well when they're trying to move the ball down the field. You mentioned a stat earlier this week about, the Steelers only are throwing deep balls, and it's only taking them like 2.7 seconds, which is really, really, really fast for deep balls. And he's still getting hit on a lot of these throws. So in order for the deep passing game to start working, it's going to have to start up front and then kind of work from there. We're not really seeing any of those plays where he's got – 4.5 seconds, even once or twice a game to throw the ball deep. The Steelers don't have those true burners either. Like Claypool is the best they've got as far as like deep vertical speed. But you look at Deontay, like when Deontay gets open down the field, it's because of his route running. He's not a fast guy. He's really quick. So you got to let him, work some of these routes and work some of these angles on these corners because he can beat them deep. It's just not going to be a straight go route like they tried early in the game when he was double covered. You got to kind of let him do some double moves and different things, but those take time to develop. The offensive line has to be disciplined. They have to block to the whistle. So definitely a missed opportunity here for sure.
All right, so highlighting our third and final play here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about this big run because this run is bad for everyone involved. I've talked about they missed Tyson Alualu. They definitely missed Devin Bush and missed Mike Hilton. There's probably no better summation than this. So, I mean, sum it up, Derek. What happens here? I'll just play it, but you guys can all see kind of what happens here.
Yeah. Well, first off, they get the motion kind of forces the Steelers D-line to shift. But you can see at the start of this play, if you want to pause it just for a second after the motion, you can kind of see like the hat problems, right? So basic math on, the right side of the formation, you've got Tuitt and Watt, and you've got the center uncovered. So you've got a 3-on-2 advantage there, and then for whatever reason, the Steelers are still using this. They got gashed on the ground on Sunday when they were using this formation where they put Dupree at middle linebacker, kind of. But the main problems for this play start with numbers, and then you're going to see once the ball is snapped, Carlos Davis gets eaten up by a double team. Spillane just doesn't do a very good job scraping over that. Either Tuitt and Watt are both. I think this is part of like frustration too, like people trying to play outside of the scheme, which when it works, it looks great. And TJ was everywhere on Sunday, so I definitely don't want to pin this solely on him. But when you jump inside like that to try to make a play in the backfield, yeah, they both get by their guys, but they lose contain. And part of that's because Spillane's not scraping over. Either he gets sucked up in that double team as well. So it's a numbers issue. Cam Sutton's got his back to the football here, chasing CeeDee Lamb. Joe Hayden misses the tackle. Pollard carries Minka for 5 more yards. I mean, there's a lot wrong with this run game more than just, they're missing Tyson. Like it's a lot of different things kind of manifesting. The injuries have definitely been one of the bigger parts, though. Like you said, I agree. Just got to start executing a little better, getting some guys in some better situations too.
Well, like you just look at Davis does. Watch him come off the ball. This dude, when he comes up, that dude is completely upright. That's awful pad level, man. I mean, that's why he gets washed, because these guys get below his pads and they just wash him. I mean, literally, if he, because this isn't a double team, a natural double team. This is outside zone. So it's not like he's expecting a double team here, but you got to expect that when you're working against the flow here. And he comes up straight, man. I mean, that's not even, he shouldn't even be working on this center. I mean, he's got to eat him up for Spillane. That's Spillane's job to avoid him. Like that's not Davis's job. That Davis should be working against him and working outside so he can get Pollard here. And I don't know why he's trying to take on 2 guys at once. He's not dense enough. This isn't college. Like this is a welcome to the NFL moment. You talk about guys working out a scheme. Well, Davis is trying to work out a scheme here, but he also comes up super high with his pad level, and the guys just get under him and wash him as a result. And he gets pancaked to the ground. That's a young guy though. So he'll learn from it. Probably teach tape stuff. Carl Dunbar's a fantastic coach, so I have no doubt that he'll teach Carlos Davis to hopefully stay. He needs to come up with a flat back. He comes up upright, man. I mean, you can't really get much more straight up than Davis does. Watt and Tuitt. This is the thing. The Steelers have been telling their guys to get upfield, and they're just blowing contain on it. And yeah, that's Spillane. He's got to work over. Like I'm just saying, if they Devin Bush probably makes this play.
Yeah, Bush makes that play.
Bush makes this play, man. Like, I don't think this is on Cam Sutton, but like, if that's Mike Hilton probably makes this play too. Like, and if this is Tyson Alualu, he eats this up, and Spillane's free. He goes there. Like, the injuries are definitely taking a toll on this team right now. Like, I can tell you that right now. And it's showing up. Luckily they'll get Alu back this week. Hilton, who knows, and Bush is done for the year. So that's not good. But shout out to Henry Mondo here, who ragdolls a tight end. At least that's something. Mondo just patrols that the whole way. So, by the way, watch out for this guy. I think Mondo is he hasn't had the big play outside of the 1 tackle for loss. But I think he's got on his way there. So we'll see kind of how he does this week. But you could see Dupree from the middle was just a non-factor. So he just creates more traffic. So there's nothing going well here. This is just an awful. All right, so let's transition here over to the Bengals side of the tape. So I'll break this one down. We are here. Cover 1 is what it looks like. You have Jesse Bates. I want to hover over Jesse Bates because this is a man that can change the complexion of a game in a second. an elite safety. He doesn't get talked about in the national media. He's one of the best safeties in the National Football League right now. You're gonna see his range here, man. I mean, this is an insane play. Zach Pascal working from the backside of the formation here. Great job by Bates to work backside and pick this off. You can see his eyes are playing through Phillip Rivers. He's seeing what Pascal's doing, and he's seeing that zone be vacated. I mean, that's just perfect play on the football. That's perfect. That's a perfect angle, driving down on the football and making this play in cover one. I mean, when you have a safety like this, it really empowers you to play a cover one man style of scheme because you know that this safety can make plays from the other opposite hash. I mean, he's coming from the opposite hash here. This is not just like basic play here, man. He covers 15, 20 yards going sideline to sideline there. I mean, he covers a lot of ground on that. That's just a really impressive play. And this is highlighting what Jesse Bates can do. If Ben's not careful, I mean, it would not surprise me if on one of those flutter deep balls, here comes Jesse Bates. He very well could be the best safety they've faced all year. I don't think that's a stretch of the imagination, man.
I definitely agree. I think, pound for pound, him and Mink are the two guys I think premier deep middle of the field center fielder type safeties in the league right now. You made a good point about you got to be careful with him. Not only does he kind of erase other people's mistakes on his defense, the range, man, is just bizarre. He covers a lot of ground here, but you see him do this all the time. I mean, it's like once a week that he'll make a play from center field to the sideline on a deep fly route or something like that. But the thing about him is how he attacks the football. Like, watch him go up and get this at the highest point, play through the receiver's hands. I mean, that's just ripping the ball away from somebody. Not that that's a awful throw by Rivers. I think he puts a little too much air under it. Maybe if he drills that in the hole there, that's completed. But you can't make a mistake around that type of guy. He's not the greatest tackler, but when he gets 15, 20 yards off the line of scrimmage, looking back at the quarterback, that's kind of like where he excels. He's an excellent cover guy. I mean, he was that way coming out of college too. I mean, he was the premier, I think, center fielder in his draft class. So since he's got a good one, they're going to have to try to scheme him up a little bit because he's potentially a disaster waiting to happen for sure.
All right, so we were talking still about the Bengals here. Let's go to another team here. How about the Ravens? They are masters of misdirection. The Steelers were really good at this earlier in the year, but Derek, they've really gone stagnant there. What do you kind of see here that you would want them to incorporate?
Just a little creativity, man. I mean, you've still kind of seen them use the motion, like the jet sweep motion, but they haven't been giving it to the receivers. Cincinnati's been burned on this. Look at their linebackers, kind of overcommit towards Lamar. Obviously, the Steelers don't have that running threat with the quarterback, but you can kind of see the misdirection and what it does to the linebackers. And you even see this backside safety, I believe that's Jesse Bates, kind of get caught up into the middle of the field, and they run Devin Duvernay around the other side. He's got a caravan of blockers. Ray McCloud, Chase Claypool, it doesn't matter who you want to give this to, but the Steelers have got to start at least putting on tape that they will utilize that motion to get their receivers the football. The only receiver runs we've seen are near the goal line, which that's been extremely effective. But all that jet motion stuff, we wanted to see what this coaching staff could do with the misdirection and stuff. Motion's great, and their motion percentages are definitely up. It helps you create mismatches, illusions, things like that. But if you don't ever, give off the threat that you're going to hand the ball off to these receivers, linebackers are not going to continue to move with them. Like, they're not going to do anything for you. So just a wrinkle that they should have seen on tape a couple weeks ago that worked against Cincinnati. We'll see if they try something. I hope that they do, but we'll see.
This is a formation that I don't expect they'd use. It's not
No.
something they probably switch this up a little bit for them. Probably out of maybe 11 personnel, I would expect. You could still put Ebron or even Derek Watt there, and then you can have Connor here. But this works because this would work perfectly for the Steelers actually, because this is a counter run, and the Steelers love running counter. A counter tray is what they run. They haven't run it well in the past weeks, but this is a great way to open that back up. You can see them just bite for it. Everybody bites for the counter, the puller. That's why they all go this way. They're just keeping the puller, and then you have Duvernay back this way. You want to keep guys honest on a counter and stop from playing, right down on James Conner. Why not do this, right? Like, why not bounce it back? I'm certain you can get them going here, and you could have a big play. They did it earlier the year with Ray McLeod on a similar play, when they were running counter Trey again. They have stuff like this in the playbook. I feel like you could just switch it up a little bit. Maybe add a receiver out here. You can easily put Juju if you want to say this is Deontay. Juju and Claypool are really good blockers, or Juju and Washington are really good blockers. Like, just throw them out there and they can become lead blockers. So there's zero reason why you can't have someone get this like that. Just add a little bit of sprinkle of creativity. We'll see what Randy Fiedner does, especially with a week of practice. Ben's just missing, pretty much. And they said they did it through text, which is interesting. Ben prefers it that way, so I guess it works for him. It works for him, but you know, in a shortened week with all the COVID stuff, we'll see if they can add a wrinkle like this. But they definitely should if they can. There's no doubt about it. All right, so final play of the day. Let's highlight, I think, one of the biggest things that we haven't talked about yet, Joe Burrow. We have not mentioned him. He's had a great year. He looks like he could be the rookie of the year. He's everything that the Bengals hoped they had and what they wished for. And this is a great play that highlights this. There's also some schematic things here. You can notice that they're an empty. Ever since Joe Mixon went out with a foot injury, they've gone into a lot of empty. They have good receivers. And they have Giovanni Bernard here, who's a really good receiving back, and they'll motion him in. So, they can run out. This is a 10 personnel package. They can run out of empty. They can trust Bernard on the outside, and they can also bring him in if they want to run it, whatever. But also, you see this bunch set. They can run bunch sets, stacked looks similar to the Steelers do, to create that traffic, and try to get their guys open. They'll run a little bit of a mesh concept to work on backside, with levels on this side, but nothing really happens for them on display. Because you're going to see it's cover one, it's man coverage across the board as it usually is, but Burrow just makes this play happen. Drifting back and throws a perfect ball to T. Higgins. Like, this is an insane throw by Joe Burrow. Like, it literally is. He feels the rush, gets out, drifting back, and throws it with his feet not even set right to T. Higgins. That's an insane catch by Higgins, too. I mean, a really great catch. Great body control, great ball. Just go attack that ball and tap his toes in. But this is the type of stuff that scares you for the Steelers. You have that cover one look that they've struggled in notoriously. You get in the man, you get Burrow outside the pocket when the Steelers have not been able to stay in their rush lanes and stay condensed in those. And then, he can make this throw. I mean, we saw Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz make throws like this against them, and the Steelers had no answer for it. So if Burrow can do this, can he do it against Steelers? Probably. But Derek, I'll let you go here. What do you kind of see on this play that might spook you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson. I mean, even Garrett Gilbert made a couple of plays last week against the Steelers outside the pocket. But I think, I mean, Burrow. I know you and I both loved his tape coming out. That's like one of the things I think makes him potentially special at this level is like his ability to feel. He has great pocket awareness. His ability to get outside the pocket is special too, even though he's not a great athlete. He's a lot better athlete than you'd expect. And then I also, like you said, kind of want to highlight T. Higgins. When T. Higgins didn't jump the way that I think people expected him to jump during his testing before the NFL draft, I think a lot of people were really concerned. I was a little bit concerned, but there is also something for guys like him with that type of build that know how to contort their body. and Higgins is great in these 50-50 ball scenarios. I mean, he turns those into more like 80-20, 90-10 balls. So that's something that the Steelers are going to have to be really conscious of, like jump balls with him. More often than not, he's going to come down with those. You can kind of see like him and Burrow do have you watch the tape, they do have a pretty good connection between the two of them. So be interested to see if they try to stay a little more disciplined in their rush lanes, especially on the edge with Watt and Dupree. Um, I think personally that the Steelers are going to dial up a lot of blitzes. Cincinnati's allowed, I think, almost 30 sacks on the year. I think they're going to want to hit Burrow as much as possible, as early as possible. But you just got to be conscious about where you're doing it because, here obviously he's just escaping to the right, but we've seen him jump, up in the middle, step up in the pocket, make some throws down the field too. It's just definitely something in his skill set, his repertoire that kind of scares you when you start looking on tape and him make throws like this as a rookie. It's extremely impressive for sure.
Yeah, and we've also seen him take off. I mean, he will take off at times too. But yeah, I think you kind of highlight everything else I would want to highlight from this. So thanks for listening, guys. Uh, we'll be back next week after hopefully another Steelers victory. They are
I don't
8
know.
8. We'll see on this rocky road to 8-0.